Welcome, welcome everybody. How are you doing today? It's so very nice to have you here. And I wanted to speak today a little bit about freedom and do a little practice together. So when I speak about freedom, I'm speaking about a true independence from the past, a true independence from the unmet, unfinished tendencies of the past. We can't really stop the past from arising here. That's not in our control. As well as we are not in control of the circumstances that arise in our life. And we are not in control of the responses in our nervous systems that arise because of the circumstances that are present. However, what we can do, and that's what's really powerful, what we can do is we can learn to be here when past is present. So this habit of practice, this habit of just being here with what is a practical application of our desire for truth. And that's really, really powerful. It's really important to remember that if we really want awakening, if we really want truth, if we really want freedom, we will be willing to just be here. And especially just be here when past is present. So as you know already, past tendencies, when they arise, they show up in our physiology, they affect our physiology, they show up as thoughts, feelings, sensations, emotions, and our sensory experience makes it feel so very real. It looks very real. It looks very believable. So freedom or independence from the past begins when we are able to recognize the past for what it is. When we are able to say, hey, wait a minute, I know this, I know these tendencies or these thoughts or feelings or emotions. I have seen that before. That's the past. And then freedom or independence from the past grows when we are actually willing to be here with what is. So right now in this moment, instead of thinking about it or trying to understand or remember or figure it out, we can bring our attention here. Good, beautiful. Just notice, what is present on the level of sensation. And notice that right away as you are sitting here like this, your attention begins to slow down. You can also notice your feet on the ground or your legs. You can notice the weight of your body where you're sitting. And you can also, maybe you're leaning back, you can notice that when your body, where your body is touching the surface as you're leaning back. Good, beautiful. And notice how your attention is slowing down. You can also look around a little bit, just to give your brain and your nervous system a little more information, right? That's keeping your eyes open, looking around, just, to see where you are, where it is that you are sitting. Good, beautiful, because as your attention slows down, as your nervous system and brain comes back here. It's not so engaged in the past. Now we can also notice the substratum from which everything arises, which is our true nature, presence. Good, good. And let's just spend another moment here, because that's the reason why we want to be here. Good, good. And I will be speaking this weekend about this, about capacity of our nervous system to be here. We'll be practicing together, and I hope to see you there.